We'd like to take this moment to remember our friend and my colleague, Kelsey Sullivan.
Hey there, it's Tom O. Welcome back to the newest Tom Ozone podcast, Beyond the Blind. This is our dog episode, and I'm joined once again by Bill Brown, retired regional director for Ducks Unlimited, and Brad Allen, retired Maine Waterfowl Biologist. If you're watching this episode as opposed to listening to it, there will be some dog pictures. So hit that subscribe button.
Quack.
Did you hear the latest?
Of what?
Duck dog talk?
No.
We may have a convert. He's fessed up to the fact that he may buy himself the best duck dog.
Who's that?
Tomo.
Sweet.
He's not convinced yet.
Is it going to be a yellow lab
Not
or
convinced
what?
yet.
He's not convinced yet. He's close.
I'd like to have a pointing dog for birds.
Yeah.
But now I just end up taking a versatile dog and duck hunting with him all the time, and it's like, well, that's kind of a waste, because then he's got to stop halfway through the season or part way through the season or whatever, I'm always trying to keep him warm and wrap him in a down coat and shit like that,
When did you hunt him the last time this year?
It was just after Thanksgiving. It was just after Thanksgiving when he was busting ice. I mean, he'll go. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. You just got to, but it's not safe.
It's not good.
I'm 70 this month, and I can't chase a bird dog through an altar cover anymore. That's a young man's sport or a young woman's sport.
Well, that's why I'm thinking about just getting a retriever, because that's all I have them do is retrieve.
Plus, they're the ultimate family dog.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
But, an upland dog, they've got a great nose. I just need to get him in the area where that duck is, and he'll go wherever to find it, And
We could talk about it later when we start talking about labs, but the labs I've always owned are knuckleheads, and my hunting partners have called them knuckleheads, and I thought, should I be offended by him just calling my dog a knucklehead? I mean, you can dish my wife, you can dish my kids. I'm not so sure I like you dishing my dog. And then the more I thought about it, well, they kind of are knuckleheads. But, I loved them, and they found a lot of birds I wouldn't have found. So that's where I saw the value. You saw my last dog knuckleheaded into Europe hunting party and found a beautiful Drake mallard. We hadn't been there for 5 minutes.
yeah.
That's what I used them for.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can duck hunt without a dog, obviously, and I have.
Yeah.
And then I've duck hunted with a dog, and there really is no comparison. I mean, from having another buddy along with you while you're hunting, to, like you say, finding birds that you would have never found. I wouldn't. And when I'm hunting with the dog, I just drop them and don't really worry about where. If I think he's going to see it, whatever, and then he'll go get it. But
When you're dogless, you need to be very selective.
I know you're like, oh, I don't want to.
I'm not going over there.
I don't want to go over there. But
Oh, yeah.
but I'll send the dog there. He's happy to do it.
Yeah.
I prefer having a dog. Now, you've been dogless for a while.
3 years in December. Yeah, 3 years. Yep. I was 3 years between labs. And then so we're on the 3-year mark again.
Ah, yeah, right. So, all right, well, since this is our dog episode, and we're going to be talking about dogs anyway, we might as well start off talking about Miss Eider, who's up there right above you. A great picture. She was a beautiful dog and wonderful. I didn't meet her until the tail end of her life, when she was just getting to the end of her hunting career. Yeah. But she did some work for you guys, right? She was one of your Stonington dogs.
She was a Stonington dog. Unfortunately, at the wrong end of the Stonington era, but she was a wonderful animal. I had a yellow before her, a male. I insisted that a man that duck hunted needed a kenneled male Labrador. That's all you could be. He was a great animal, but not like her. And I had seen a note that I had written when Gunner was his name. When he passed, I sent a note and a picture to everyone, and it said, I got one great dog, and I looked at that the other day in my computer transfer, and I said, well, that wasn't true.
No, right?
So, you know, she was a great dog. She's been gone 3 years. I don't know. Well, it's a tough thing.
I know you've talked about, I mean, just about every week, it's one way or the other. It's like, I'm not getting a damn dog. Then he's like, oh, somebody contacted me about a dog. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'm not getting a dog.
It really is irresponsible to duck hunt without a dog. Whether you own it or somebody else, it really is irresponsible.
No, it is.
I'm sorry. I should. Now, if you're going to go out and kayak and sit in open water, that's one thing. But if you're where we hunt, man, it's irresponsible.
I mean, how many times have you dropped one behind you, you know, where the dog doesn't even really see it, you know, and you just take him out in that area and you saw it drop. I mean, I've done this. I saw it drop, and I take the dog out and I'm like, find the bird. And then he's off over there, and I'm getting pissed off. I'm like, "Hey,
no,
it's over here." And then all of a sudden, you hear a commotion, and he comes back from over there with the bird. You're like, "Oh,
yeah, like you didn't want this one, right?"
It's like, yeah, never mind. I'm sorry. You do your thing. And that happens all the time. I mean, every season, almost every hunt, you go, "Well, I wouldn't have found that one."
Yeah. If I was sea ducking like we sea ducked in the early 2000s, I would never be without a dog. Never. But now it's like, and you know,
a dog on
you
the
get a
coast.
young puppy, we're going to want to hunt your puppy, right?
Right.
I mean, you know, so I'm the first guy to take your dog, that's fine. And you need to do that, but there's just limited opportunity, fresh water. I mean, just limited.
Well, I think you need them even more then, because they go on the other shore and, you know, crawl underneath some log or under some hummock, and, you know, you can't see it, but all of a sudden the dog is digging in there. You see his tail wagging. You're like, okay.
I was up in the county once, and I dropped a duck that landed in a field, and it was a small field. It's 100 yards across or less, and took the dog over there. I couldn't find it. Went back to the blind where my friend Jeff was and scratching my head. I said, I don't know why we didn't find that wood duck. And it just didn't make any sense. It should have been an easy retrieve for any knucklehead, even mine. And so we continued hunting and left the blind for whatever reason to go get a cup of coffee at the truck or something. I came back, and the wood duck was laying on my blind bag. The dog somewhere had found it, brought it to the blind, left it where even the knucklehead hunter me could find it. It was like, Jeff, where the hell did that duck come from? I said, I don't know, I think your dog brought it back. And I said, how'd that happen? That one surprised me. That was fun.
That's great. Do you want to tell the story about our epic hunt?
The epic hunt
with Miss Eider? Well, I guess I'll preface it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You called me and told me that Eider had passed on. Yes. And it was on a walk, right? You let her out, and I mean it was one of the good ways.
The way you want it to happen. Yeah,
right.
Just the way you want it to happen.
My dogs never did that, but I was jealous of those of you that had that happen.
Oh, you got to make that walk of shame.
Yeah.
Jesus. Now they light a candle on the counter at the vet's office.
Oh, Jesus.
Please be silent because somebody's having it. No, I don't. No, I want to go in the back door and, you know, here's my credit card, you know. But that walk of shame. But yeah, she went out for her morning deal, and that was the end of it.
But we have a certain number of places that we scout. This was later in the season. Ice had formed and stuff, so this was some little corner that we might go sometimes. And I droned it, and there was not one bird in there, not a goose, not a duck. There was nothing in there. Mm-hmm. And my partner, who usually hunts with me, was not going to go. So I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm not going here. So I'm like, I guess I'm going to go to the coast. And then you said, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, I think I'm going to go to the coast. And you're like, well, George isn't going with me. So I'm like, oh. I'm like, what do you want to do? And he says, you said I want to go down in the corner. And I'm like, I just was there. There's nothing there. There's 0 ducks there. And he was like, well, that's where I'm going to go. if you want to go. I'm like, well, Jesus, I can't go by myself and then have him go by himself the day after his dog dies. And then his other,
I just wanted to be alone.
Just go sit down there by himself. So I'm like, all right, I'll go and I'll sit down with you and we'll do nothing and just hang out, whatever. And every duck in the world wanted to be in that spot that morning, man.
Nice.
Every
that was
duck.
the 2 mallard limit time, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Mallards, blacks, geese.
Right then there. It was Barn Boys Day. Just happened to be back then. So, yeah.
But
that was epic. That was epic.
That, I believe, is something supernatural. Something different happened. She was with us. Miss Ider was with us that day, for sure. Yep.
Sounds like it.
I mean, it was one of those days where you set up, like on shore, and you think you're like, oh, we're 25 yards from the decoys, and then the sun comes up, and like the decoys are right here, and we're like, why are these ducks can't see us?
And we're sitting in the open in a hub blind.
Yeah, we put a white cover on it, but I mean,
she would have liked that. She would have had fun there.
Yeah, for sure. Like a good one. For sure, but she had something to do with that. She definitely had something to do with that, man. Yeah.
The only other good Eider story was, well, there have been a lot of them, but back in Stonington, and we had the gal from Gundog Magazine,
Callie Pomeroy.
She does the
nice
Wild Uplands TV show and stuff.
Yeah.
She and Brad were sitting down in a pretty good spot. Brad was trying to get her a Drake Eider, and he did. He did. He was successful.
Yeah.
And Eider was out chasing a crippled hen, not very far offshore. I mean, relatively close. Yeah. Well, there was a lobster pot there with a long gang. Must have been a gang trap because it had that long pot wop on it.
Yeah.
And she got tangled up in it. Well, she wasn't tangled up in it so much as the crippled duck. She wouldn't drop that duck. She was not going to drop that duck. When the duck went under, it got under the pot wop. So there's a picture somewhere.
Let's do it. Hold on.
I'm looking at it.
There it is. There she is.
So everybody's screaming from shore, your dog's going to drown.
Yeah, absolutely.
That actually is a pot with the line you can see just under her neck, and she would not let that duck go. Finally, she swam so hard that the pot went over the top of her head, line and all, and then she came back. But Callie didn't like that too much. She was not. She thought that dog. And he was almost reached. She was like 10 feet away from her.
Yeah, but 30 feet
but
deep.
30 feet of water. Go get your dog.
Right.
Oh.
I've sat with you several times when you've sent Eider after a crippled Eider, and I was like, I don't know, Bill. I think we might need the boat for this. And you trusted your dog as you should, and she made some pretty impressive retrieves that I thought wasn't going to happen, but she pulled them off.
Gunner was terrible. You could not call him off a duck. There was no way. The only way you could get him to stop chasing a cripple, if you're in the boat looking for that cripple, they'd take a dead duck and throw it out, and he'd go chase that dead duck.
Yeah.
And then they'd bring him back to the boat, and then they'd go cripple chasing. She would, the other hand, she would finally come to call, but man, she hated to. She really did. She did.
She was a badass. And then that proved that you didn't need a male dog.
Male kennel dog.
Didn't need a male dog.
That was the sweetest house dog you ever had been around. Terry loved her to death.
A female yellow lab is hard to beat.
Oh, my goodness. If I could find another one just like that.
Yeah.
No, you don't know until you get them home.
My first one, Tom Duff gave me.
Oh,
he found a family, unfortunately, went through an ugly divorce, and they had three labs from Triven Kennel, which I Googled, is out on the West Coast. Really good lab producing kennel, and unfortunately the family had a breakup, and I think the man kept one of the dogs, but they gave away the other two. And Tom got a hold of one. He says, "You want a free yellow lab?" She was pregnant, so she came with some strings. And I said, "Absolutely," and I said, "Bring her over to my office." And So I was thinking, okay, Tom's going to show up with a dog bouncing off the windows and, just totally out of control. And I couldn't see anything in his truck. He had that old beat up silver Toyota or something back then. And I said, where's the dog? He's on the front seat. I went over and knocked on the window. The dog's asleep. He looks up at me like, bothering my nap. And he was a beautiful dog named Ripple. And so after I took her to the vet and got her spayed, I had a wonderful free yellow lab, and that's hooked me on yellow labs. And after that, I had a couple more. So
you had Sky. I remember Sky.
Sky
right?
was
I
my
remember
last
Sky,
one, which is kind of identical to
I remember
Senior
Sky.
Eider.
Yeah.
And I had a puppy out of Sky, and I went through a breeding. I think the lady that sold me the dog said, I want one breeding. It was not uncommon that a person selling a lab might ask for a breeding. And so I put her through one and almost killed her with infections and ended up with 9 puppies that I ended up selling 8 of them. I kept the runt of the litter. But I was forced to go through a litter of dogs, and man, that was a lot of work. But I sold some good puppies. People had good luck with them.
So what do you guys think about males versus females now?
I would never own another male dog.
Really?
Yeah, I'm all about females.
No.
Was it always that way
Having trained
for you? I guess not for Bill.
I've had a male dog, but I told everybody he's gay, and so because I tried to have him. I wanted a puppy out of him, but he didn't know what end of a dog to breed. But I'm all about female dogs.
So you guys don't anthropomorphize them. That's what I do. I think if I think I'd have a tough time making a female dog do what I make a male dog do. Or if he looks back like, you want me to go into that? I'll be like, yeah, do it. You go. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I think like if it was a girl, I'd be like, okay,
I never compared
I even
the
talk
two.
to them differently.
No, I never compared the two, the toughness. I never measured the toughness between the two of them. They were different dogs,
Yeah.
but I would never, the ease of bringing that female puppy home, the housebreaking, her eagerness to just
you.
please me
Right.
and please Terry and work for anybody.
Yeah.
I could leave her on shore bread and
Yeah,
she'd do
yeah.
exactly
Not
for
a
him
problem.
and she'd do for me.
Yeah.
Gunner? No. No. That was my dog.
Headstrong.
Yeah. That's the
And you
way
want
it
to talk
was.
about toughness?
Yeah.
There, we go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
She was
I
tough. I
put-
look at the blood flying. Not her blood, obviously. But
I hope
she
not.
did.
I was accused of that a few times. I'd put her up against any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question. But the ease of ownership, the female, absolutely. Now, I never had puppy. I never tried the puppy thing. I always had a spade fairly early. And,
Yeah. I don't know. Females tended to be smarter, I always thought, and softer, easier to handle. Don't piss on every bush 500 times when you go in the woods the first time. Don't try to hump every other dog in the field. I don't know.
Our friend Larry, Farmer Larry, who
Yeah.
you'll all get a chance to meet here someday soon, just got a chocolate male.
Did he?
I wish him luck.
Yeah.
He'll probably be okay. Larry's Larry. But
Yeah.
So, guys, you both said yellow. So, is there a thing about colors? Is it just your preference, or do you think there? I mean,
Well,
do you
the-
think there's a difference?
the hair shows a little less.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a difference. I probably the best hunting dog I ever hunted, lab I ever hunted over was a chocolate. I never had any interest in the chocolate, and I don't know. Yellows, blacks, it doesn't matter.
You just preferred yellow, just
Yeah, they're just prettier and easier to take pictures of. Black labs are hard to take photographs of.
yeah. You're right. Yeah, yeah, true. But then again, they're harder to see by the ducks.
That's
no,
true.
Well, some guys like to camo the dog.
Yeah.
I don't.
I've hunted with people that would stake their black lab out next to the blind, and I didn't think a flock of black ducks I think they could see that dog there. I didn't like that. I like to camo them up a little bit, like you said, but black's easier to hide than yellow, but there's plenty of places to hide a yellow dog. That's not a problem.
Well, you put a vest on them, then their torso is done anyway,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly.
And whether for warmth or just protection, depending upon where you're hunting, there's sticks and shit like that, you know, that can take a dog out or injure them, you know.
You know, I appreciate the folks that field trial dogs and hunt test dogs and do all that, but I don't have time or interest in that. So really, I'm looking for 3 good months a year out of a dog. You know, I need a pet, a house pet. I need another member of the family.
Yeah.
You know, and then, but man, I'll tell you, that one there would trip the switch. She knew it when it was pool time, and she knew when I headed for the barn and the barn boys started putting gear together. She knew it was time. Yeah. She just knew.
Oh yeah,
she knew
it. Oh yeah, they sense it for sure.
I remember us being on hunts and in the camp, drinking beer, getting ready to cook lobsters. Ida was usually in everybody's lap.
Oh yeah,
you know, and everybody loved her.
Right.
You know?
Her favorite spot was on the couch.
Yeah.
Hey, that was what it was all about. She was the camp mascot, you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Geez, wish we hadn't have done this episode.
It's been a long time for me.
No, you've been thinking about it. We know you've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's a commitment.
Yeah.
I mean, today it's a huge financial commitment.
Well, I haven't bought a dog in decades, and the prices you guys are telling me, and then the price of ACL surgeries.
Yeah,
the price of
poor Ida lost 2 years to that dog for knee surgery. She had one at 5 years of age, and you knew, and the vet says, look, you're going to be back. And it was the very next year. So I lost her prime 2 years. Year 5, year 6 was lost to knee surgeries. Yeah. But what are you going to do? They can't hunt that way. They're no good to you. But
I was lucky. I have a sister who's a vet for 40 years, so I got free ACL surgery.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But I'm not a rich man, and owning a puppy right now, it's a commitment, a big commitment, and one that I'm probably not prepared to do. But if I've had 3 labs, I've had 3 English setters. If I got a new dog, if somebody was going to give me one, and like I said, I got one free once, I'd definitely go with a lab.
Oh yeah.
I can't train or hunt. I can't do a bird dog justice at my age, and can't get them on the ground as much as they deserve to be.
Well, you were a setter guy forever.
Ever. Yeah, my family's had setters from long before I was around, and I love all bird dogs. You know, I don't have any problem with anybody's species, but setters have always been in my family line and my blood, so I had several of them.
Which one was your favorite?
Well, my best one was a field trial English setter from Bering, Maine, at Thunderwing Kennels. Larry Mahar and his wife, I forgot her name, Pauline maybe. It was a field trial dog. I thought I'd never own a field trial dog. But when it came to finding game and putting meat on the table, she was unbelievable. I mean, she could tear across the cover, and we'd scare every freaking woodcock in there before it was over, you know. And my last English setter was a big, beautiful, handsome guy. And, I'd run him through a cover, and I wasn't convinced that we encountered all the birds. I think he might have missed a few, but, he was a pleasure to watch and listen with the bell at close range. The field trial dog, my first one, which I'll tell a story about later, was never more than probably 50 yards from me, even though with field trial they push them a lot further than that. But she wasn't underfoot all the time. She was a rocket out there. So they're pretty variable, but they're all good if they do what they're supposed to do, and that is find a bird and stop and stay there until you get there. I bet it was a half an hour before I found this dog a few times, and she was right there.
The dog who's on the desk in front of you, who is it?
This is Willow, my first English setter that I owned. Like I said, I grew up around dogs with English setters in the family, but my father passed away when I was young. And so I had nobody to really introduce me to hunting with bird dogs. I had to do it on my own. And this one I have a picture of was the first one I kind of actually went out and bought and attempted to train by myself, but she taught me a lot more than I taught her. It was just, she was a genetic woodcock finding machine, and it was kind of interesting because I didn't know what I was doing. I had the fly rod with a woodcock wing on it, and she'd kind of pointed as a puppy, and that was cute. But when it came to actual hunting situations and working a dog in the field, I had no clue until a professor at the University of Maine, Mal Coulter, was a big bird dog owner. He took me down to Pittsfield to, I think it was Frank Hazeltine, I think his name was. He was a dog trainer, breeder in Pittsfield, where we actually put some pigeons out. And I turned my dog loose, and she went 50 yards and just locked up on a pigeon. And just the most beautiful point I've ever seen in her life. And I thought, well, okay, you got to get them into birds. And that was fun. Then when I started shooting pigeons over her, she started turning into a bird dog. But, if I had any advice for young bird dog owners and stuff, is you got to get them into birds and you got to kill stuff for them. You really have got to get feathers in their mouths. And you can make a dog that way for sure. I feel bad for the people in southern New England that have a bird dog they take out into a pheasant field once a year, and the dog misbehaves and everybody screams and yells at him. The poor dog doesn't have a chance, but at least up here in Maine, we have lots of great bird hunting covers, and you just got to go. You got to put the dog on the ground and you got to put feathers in their mouths. You can make a dog that way, but you can't be afraid to kill. You got to shoot birds for them.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've found that with my bird dogs is they figure out that we're a team.
Yeah.
And, they're looking at you, you're looking at them. If they figure out your body language and vice versa. And my first Vizsla would lock up on point and would not break point. I'd look for him for 45 minutes before.
Absolutely.
And then when you'd get there, I would just do like a head nod, and he'd be like, okay. And then he'd go in and flush it. Like if it's someplace that I was like, I'm not walking in there into that pile of shit, you know. Like you go get it. But he's waiting for me. He's looking at, you see the whites of their eyes, because they're looking at you at the corner. They're like, I don't really want to turn my head, but I see, you just give him the little head nod. And boom, he'd go in there. But he just figured that out. Or, we figured that out, right, as a team. And... that's they want to please you anyway, and they have that instinct to find birds. So it's just making that connection for them, really. And like you say, you got to just do it. You just got to find birds. And I was lucky that, like I said, my land was full of birds.
Nice.
When they were young. So
my first experience with a good bird dog was when I was right out of college. A colleague and friend of mine, Dan McCauley, had a English setter. It was a marvelous dog, and Dan worked at Moosehorn National Wildlife Refuge down in Calais for half the year, and he had his dog in woodcock daily, and they would look for hens on nests. They would look for hens with broods for banding purposes and research, and so his dog just hunted half the year daily, and so when he was back in Old Town where we lived, we'd go hunting as a group of us college kids. And another one of my friends, Paul, had a golden retriever that was very biddable. And he was a good hunting stock golden retriever. And so we would hunt with Whiskey. Whiskey would find every woodcock in the cover. And Josh, who was the golden retriever, would come in, and he was birdie enough to smell the bird, and he'd flush it. So it was a team of a pointer or a setter and a flusher, and it was just marvelous. Man, it'd be 5 or 6 of us out there hunting at a time. We used to really put them down. It was fun.
Let them be a dog. They know what they're there for.
Do you know how the English setter got its name?
Tell us.
Okay.
Please.
I thought you probably knew.
Well,
I'm sure
I
he
mean-
does.
I
He's
mean-
being polite.
I think so. Before there were guns and people in the United Kingdom wanted to hunt game birds, whatever they had there. I'm not sure what Great Britain had for game birds 500 years ago, but they would use what is now an English setter. Back then, I think it was a combination of a spaniel and a pointer that turned into an English setter. But they would hunt with their bird dogs across the moors or across the heaths or whatever they had. And when the English setter would find a game bird, it would set. It would lay down. And the hunter would come along with a net, and he would throw a net over the dog and the bird. And, that it's a lot easier to throw a net over a dog that's laying down than it is standing there. And so that's how they used to get their game birds, and that's how the English setter got its name, because it used to set when it was on point. And then when guns came along, a few hundred years later, they didn't need the dog to lay down anymore because they weren't going to throw a net over it. So they'd get a dog that could stand up strong with a nice strong tail that everybody could see from a distance, and turned into what we have today.
It's cool. I mean, it's
thought
cool. It's cool the way they've developed dogs.
Yeah.
Domesticated them and then developed them for different types of
Different
hunting. Really,
purposes. Absolutely. At one time, I had 4 hunting dogs because my kids always wanted a puppy every other Christmas, it seemed.
Of course.
So I ended up with a kennel full of dogs. But the interesting thing about it is my kids somehow recognized that the dogs want to go hunting themselves, and they're like, "Dad, you got to take Sky hunting." She's just anxious to go hunting. They sense that anxiety in the dog, and so my kids were constantly telling me to go hunting, and so I did.
Yep, there you go. All right.
Exactly.
I've taken pictures of Yogi sitting in the truck the day before we leave for duck camp because he sees all the gear going in it, and he's like, "You're not leaving without me."
No. Absolutely.
Nope. I'm going to be in here.
Yeah.
Those were the hardest days because Ida always waited until September to have knee operations.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
Couldn't
right.
do it
Yeah,
in
yeah.
January. We might stand a chance to hunt that year. So,
Right.
so my delicate mornings were, I got to get up, get in the basement, get ready before she knows what's happening.
Yeah.
She certainly couldn't go. She was out. But those were tough times, man, leaving behind. Yeah, those were tough.
Well, yeah, I'm worried about when Yogi's too old to go. I mean, my dogs have died before they're too old to go hunting previously. He's the only one who's an old dog, and I may have to leave him home, and he's going to be bumming.
When she got her last year, she'd lift her head off the bed, look at you, and put another log on the fire.
Yeah,
I'll be here
today.
when you get back.
Yeah.
Today, Dad.
Yeah.
I'll be here when you get home.
That's the intelligence quotient of a female, I think.
Yeah.
He's like, "No, that water's cold. I think I'll stay here."
Right.
Look up.
Yeah.
Want to go? Well, what's the weather report?
Yeah. Well, I've hunted with some nice male dogs too. There's no
Oh,
doubt
I
about
have
that.
too. Don't get
Yeah.
me wrong. Without males, we wouldn't have females.
Yeah.
But I just don't care to own another one.
Yeah.
I just don't care.
Yeah.
No.
Well, my first Vizsla was a male. I was last in line at the for the litter, last name on the list.
Right.
But it worked out. There was a right number of puppies, and then just when we're getting ready to go pick him up, got a call from the breeder that, "I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to sell you this dog. He's got a heart defect." So I'm like, "Oh no. Well, what are you going to do with him? He needs to have a home." She's like, "Well, if you want him for free,
Ooh,
you can have him."
that's a good price.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I have no
guarantees.
guarantee on how long he's going to live.
Right.
You're
So
not
I'm
out
like-
anything.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So we took him. That was Nero. And he ended up he was no bigger than a pint of piss. That dog never got above 42 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, that dog loved to hunt. He loved to bird hunt. First time duck hunting, he got 11
Nice.
ducks.
Yeah.
That was when he was 1. He was into it. He just loved it. It was in him. And then he turned 4, and he started bloated and not feeling well. And we took him to the vet, and we took him, and the prognosis was not good. They said, well, he might make it to the end of July. That'll be about it. Might be to the end of July. I'm like, all right, we'll just have fun with him till the end of July, because we had no idea how long he was going to live anyway. So we made it through July, made it through August. Our camping trip, we would go wilderness camping. He made it through that, and he made it into September. And I'm like, I think he's trying to make it to bird season. He loves to hunt. And October 1st came, and he wasn't well enough to go duck hunting. I went duck hunting in the morning. When I came home, I took him down back for woodcock, and he pointed 3 woodcock.
Nice.
Then we started walking out to the edge of the field, and he wasn't in front of me, which was weird. And I turned around, and he's back there. He was just looking at me. And I'm like, oh, shit, this is it, isn't it? And he stood there, and I walked back to him. He laid down, and he died.
Wow.
Right there.
God, I'd pay a lot of money to have that happen.
That'd be my best bet.
Right?
Oh.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good dog that does that.
I just dug a hole and flopped him in it, took his collar and vest off, and
You know, how can an animal provide you the happiest day of your life and the saddest day of your life?
right? Yeah, I mean that was just magical. I mean that's who has a story like that, really? All right, Brad, you brought all your framed photos.
I did.
Because when we said
share some pictures.
Yeah, share some pictures. He took everything off the wall of his home or shop or man cave, whatever it is. But yeah, so show us what you got and tell us about some of your dogs.
I guess I'll start with the one I mentioned earlier, my field trial dog from Bering, Maine. And I'll have this picture later.
Yeah, we'll put it up.
Alan's White Willow. You got time for a little story?
Of course,
Okay.
yeah. That's what we're here for. It's
All right.
It's the dog episode, right?
This-
Yeah.
I find this story an interesting story. It's not funny or anything, but it was interesting. It meant a lot to me. This dog I got in 1984, and she lived till 2000. So she was 16, which is pretty ripe age this day and age for bird dogs. She hunted at least until she was 14, maybe 15, but probably in 1997, I put her around 12 years old, I was asked by a friend of mine from Millbridge to take him bird hunting. And it was back when I think the season was 30 days long back then, and it was around October 31st. And I said, yeah, I'll take you hunting, but I can't guarantee that we're going to move a lot of birds because the local birds are beat down pretty good, and I don't know if there are any flights, but I'll take you to a flight cover, and maybe we'll have just an epic hunt. So I live in the Bucksport area, and we were hunting in Frankfurt in one of my favorite covers, and I let Willow loose with her bell, and my fingers were crossed for a flight, and I would know instantly in this cover if there was a flight on, and there wasn't. And there was no flight birds where they usually are, and so the pickings were slim, but Willow was up to the task, and so she was hunting very hard, looking for what few birds were around. She hunted probably 75, 80 yards out of my sight into the lower part of this cover. This cover went from alders with blackberries under it to a little open field, and then an aspen stand at the end of it. So I could tell by the bell that she was headed down toward this aspen stand. And so Stan and I said, well, we got to go for a walk because she's quite a ways away. And we started down toward the aspens, and I could see her because they were big aspens, and you could see underneath them. And I said, well, she's over here, Stan. And Stan happened to be quite a bit shorter than me, so he was in front of me, and I was walking behind him toward the dog, and Willow would hold a woodcock forever. As long as the bird stayed, the dog would. And so as we were approaching Willow, I could see in front of her something, and I said, she's pointing a styrofoam cup. And Stan's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And I got a little closer, and now we're 5 yards away, and I said, no, it's a pigeon. There's a pigeon in front of her. And I got 3 more yards away, and I said, it's a white woodcock. And I thought, holy shit, how how unique is this? Here's a bird that's designed to be camouflaged from day one,
Right.
who had lived from May to October as white. And I thought it was pretty special. And Stan was still in front of me, and in front of Stan was Willow. In front of Willow was this white woodcock. And I immediately started thinking, is it bad luck or good luck to shoot a white bison? And it turns out it's horrible bad luck to shoot a white bison. and so I was like thinking, God, I can't. This bird is magical. I can't kill it. And I didn't have a gun anyway. Stan did. And the bird finally got nervous with two men and a dog staring at it. And it flew, and Stan missed it. And I said, there, that was good. You know, I didn't think we needed to kill this magical bird anyway. And I went back the next day with another one of my English setters to take pictures. It was Sunday the next day. I went back to take a photograph of it, and I found it again. But the dog I brought the second day, for some reason, wasn't as good as Willow, and he bumped it a few times. We chased it around the cover a few times. I never did get a photo of it, but, it was pure white, and it was pretty special. And we didn't kill it. We didn't have it mounted on my wall. So it probably flew to Connecticut and got eaten by a great horned owl for all I know.
Right.
But I didn't shoot it. But I thought that was pretty unique, and that was pretty special. To this day, that cover's gone. Somebody bought it and clear cut it and subdivided it. And I've been back just to see if the cover still existed, and it doesn't. But I went down to where I had pointed this bird, and I brought a big chunk of quartz, white quartz, and I put it there as a little memorial to my Willow dog and the best find she ever had, and it was kind of fun. So that's my Willow story.
That's cool one.
Willow.
Yep.
White Willow.
White willow.
Well, I found the most important time to have a dog was when we could only shoot one of something.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
When you could shoot one black duck or you could shoot one hen mallard. Yeah. Because your first bird of the day, you had to see what it was before
absolutely.
You could pull the trigger again.
Absolutely.
When we were up in hunting one time together, and you asked me, why are you shooting the same ducks I am? I was like, because I want the duck to be dead when the dog goes to get it, and then we'll find out what it is. Yeah, because there's nothing worse than to sending the dog out, especially at first light, when it's all dark and you kind of see some ripples, and then you see the dog swim past where you think the duck is and start doing this, and you're like, oh. Crap, here we go.
Yeah, but that's true all the time. If you're shooting black ducks down in late season on the coast, I want to know if it's a hybrid.
Whoa, yeah.
I got to know.
Well, you just need to know
is
what
it
it is.
my black duck?
At least now you can shoot two. I mean, two is the minimum of something.
Right.
When you could only shoot one black duck or one hen mallard, you had to see if it was one or the other.
Absolutely.
At first light, especially early season, you had to. And that's when it's best to just send the dog, because what are you going to do? You're going to get out there in your kayak or your canoe or your boat and go get it, and that's when more ducks are coming, and
Best duck coming of the morning right then.
All right. So let's go back. I had Gunner was the dog. He was the big old yellow male. And I'd taken George, my dearest, oldest friend George, the duck hunter, and fellow named Eric Goodenough, who was the regional director for Ducks Unlimited for Maine and New Hampshire. Well, we took him hunting. I didn't know I was auditioning for a position with Ducks Unlimited in the volunteer ranks as the state chairman. Well, I had a 17-foot duck boat, and off we went down to Waldoboro, Meeting House Bay. You know where I am. And they shot a duck, and it was out there quite a ways. And old Gunner, he wanted to go, and I said, it was cold. Maybe too far. I'll go get the boat, keep the dog with you. I'll go get the boat and go get it. No. They hollered as I was halfway down the shore, hey, your dog's going to get the duck. Okay, let him go get the duck. He's 300-400 yards off now. Gets to the other shore, gets it up on shore. He's chasing it around. Well, I'm already at the boat, and I said, well, hell, I'll just take the boat and go pick him up, save him that swim. Well, I did. He had the duck in his mouth, never let it go. I pulled up on the shore, and I'm up on the bow of the boat with an oak branch in my hands, trying to pull us into shore. Well, he decided he was going to go show his duck off. Well, a 100-pound lab jumped off the bow of that boat up on the shore, and that elk branch broke. Yeah. Well, you know where I ended up? Right on the bottom.
The boat went backwards.
The boat went backwards.
Yeah.
All I was concerned about was grabbing the rope to the boat.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I went to the bottom, and it was a cold day. But old Gunner ran over and showed his duck off. Didn't really care about me much.
I have another flowery kind of story that I like. I don't know if any of our viewers will, but it involves my two knucklehead dogs. And Tom O knows exactly where this is, but we arrived at this duck spot in northern Maine, and as I snuck into the shoreline where I was going to sit for the afternoon or for the morning, there were 25 or 30 geese in the pond, and they saw me and the dogs numbing around on the shoreline. And it was legal shooting hours by minutes, and they flew out. But a flock of geese at about 40 yards, and my shooting ability, I chose not to shoot. And, my dogs are kind of looking at me like, come on, pull the trigger for Christ's sake. And I could see it in their face. And you can see it on this one's face. He says, shoot, damn it. And I didn't, because I'm not that good a shot. But this particular morning, as the 25 or 30 geese flew out, a rather large feather off one of the geese came off the goose, and it's dancing around in the sky. And of course everything's starting to settle down. The geese have gone away, the noise is gone, and this feather was just floating around in the air, just kind of going up, going down. And me and the two dogs are watching it. The dogs are looking at me, their tails are wagging. It's like, and we were watching this feather go back and forth and back and forth. And it was getting closer and closer to me. And my knucklehead dogs thought it was the greatest thing in the world that a duck feather or goose feather was coming at us. And I was sitting on the bank. This is one of those lagoons. And I was sitting on the bank, and I put my hand out, and the feather landed in my hand. And my two dogs were like, that was the greatest thing that ever happened. They were jumping around like saying, that was pretty cool. And I thought, well, maybe that was their way of thanking me for not shooting them in the ass, like I probably would have. And they gave me a gift of a feather. And but my knuckleheads here, they thought it was the funnest thing. One day I was hunting within a half a mile of this spot here, and they were both asleep on both sides of me, one on each side. This duck hunting, it obviously got very slow, and a moose calf came out into the pond in front of me. We were on the round ponds, and they're shallow, and they're only 50 yards across. And there's a moose beyond my decoys. It's going back and forth, and the dogs are both asleep. And I was like, these, tried and true duck dogs, you got to hold them back. They're just so raring to go. Not my dogs. And I literally woke them up. Hey, Sky, wake up. What's going on? I said, look. The hair was going through the back of his neck. It's like they just thought that was the coolest thing. Chase that out of the pond.
Tell us about your grandfather picture. What's that one? That's a good one.
Well, you did ask for duck dog pictures. Or bird dog.
Just didn't think you were going to take them out of the museum.
This is one of my favorites. I don't know if this is going to show in the camera, but
we'll take a picture of it.
Okay.
Sure we will.
This is my grandfather, Leander Dole in Sebago Lake, Maine. He was a professional guide, and he guided salmon fishermen on Sebago Lake, but he also guided hunters, bird hunters and deer hunters, up until his death in 1945 when he was killed deer hunting. But he always had these beautiful blocky English setters, and so I just love that photograph. Anyway, I've never met the man because he was killed before I was born, but I do like the lifestyle he led and the dogs he owned. And his daughter, my mother, married my father, my father's from Rockport area. My mother introduced my father into English setters, and so my father had a few that I almost remember because I was only 2 or 3 or 4 years old before he died. But I just fell in love with big, blocky English setters. Even though my first dog was Willow, the kind of a wiry field trial dog, I eventually got to a blocky English setter.
Oh, there you go.
That kind of emulated what my family used to have for dogs. This is an old Hemlock dog from Michigan, I think, is where his mother was from. And he was very photogenic. He wasn't the game getter that my English setter field trial dog was, but he was pretty, and he was fun to have around for 12 years, and he was my last one. So, but I think owning a lab would be a lot easier these days.
Even though all the hip problems and
Yeah.
all that stuff, I mean, isn't that a thing? I mean,
Hips
have you
and
had
elbows?
Have you had one that didn't have to have surgery?
Yeah,
Well, Gunnar didn't have surgery.
Gunnar
right?
had many surgeries, but no knees.
Yeah.
No, he had many surgeries. He was an accident, just looking for a place to happen.
Oh.
But he was fine. But no, I was lucky. He was 11, she was 13. But boy, I'm reading more and more and more. 6 and 4 and 5, and twisted stomachs and allergies to this and that, and diseases I'd never heard of. I have to look them up, and they still don't know what they are. They just, oh my goodness gracious!
Well, a farmer's dog always lived to be 18.
I know.
We
Never
can't-
saw a vet.
Yeah, we can't get our dogs past 8 or 9 sometimes.
And we do the best we can. We go every year, and if they sneeze, we take they're kids. They're little kids to us, But man, some you just can't avoid. Gunnar had a wrist test. It was called a wrist test. He was allergic to something. Couldn't determine what. So first thing you do is change the food. Well, that didn't work. So I said, all right. I agreed to. At the time, it was $300 or $400 for a wrist test. Tested for everything from pollen to clover. He was allergic to everything on earth.
As it turned out, when we did the
Everything.
test, it's like
Everything. Yep. He's positive.
Jesus.
It kind of sucks when they tell you your dog's allergic to grass.
Yeah. Right.
The only thing he's not allergic to is duck feathers. But you're going to have to prepare his meals, and it's going to be chicken and carrots. It's just the way it is. I don't know if that's breeding. I don't know what it is. If it's
I think it's their
environment,
food. I think it's their food.
food.
Yeah.
We all look for cheaper food. Everybody's looking for, I complain about a $10 a pound steak, but you're paying $7 a pound for dog food. It's not. You're not, but you're.
No, I know.
It's-
It's not cheap. No.
no.
I mean, yeah,
But
no.
You're convinced you need a better quality dog food, which I'm not begrudging the animal a good feed, but is it better?
Dogs will sleep on dog beds that they say are treated with fire retardants.
Yeah, right.
And,
Yeah.
so what do you do?
I don't know.
Well, it's like people. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows where all these things are coming from? It's
Yeah.
in the environment. It's in the food. It's in the whatever your clothes. I mean, everything's treated with something. I mean,
I got to think a lot of it is the dry food we feed them. It'd be nice if you could emulate what a wolf eats and feed it to your dog every day, and they'd live forever. But it's just cost prohibitive.
I made the mistake. She says, are you going to get a puppy? I said, well, maybe, and this was innocent, maybe when you're gone,
oh no,
I'll get one for company.
That's a hell of a way to start a discussion with your wife.
I'll get one for company.
I thought you were talking about a 25-year-old girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
Oh, God, no.
Get that for company.
God, no. I'll barely be able to keep up with a puppy. And she said, well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you get one while I'm around and I can enjoy it?
Yeah.
So, it's not the, I don't have to argue the point. It's just, do I want that commitment?
Yeah, I always thought if somebody gave me like a 2-year-old yellow lab. That's his wonderful behavior. Maybe some hunting in its background. I might consider that. Because puppies are such crapshoots sometimes.
This is a dog story. I got to tell this one. I said, Terry, what would you like for Christmas? I want a puppy. Now, we've been dogless for 3 years. I says, a puppy? She says, yeah, I want a puppy. I want a yellow female.
Nice.
Well, I didn't take that serious at all. So Christmas came. She's looking at, where's my yellow female? You were serious? Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes, I was. That's what I wanted for Christmas.
Here's a diamond necklace instead.
Well, I happen to know. I was always paying attention to what. Even if you're not interested, listen to the price. You ever heard it? I knew where there was a puppy.
Yeah.
I thought. I got on the horn, and she said, "Well, that puppy's sold, but I have a deposit only, and the woman hasn't picked it up yet." I says, "Well, if something happens, let me know." New Year's Eve day, she called me. That puppy's available if you'd like to come pick it up. I'm on my way. I said, so what's the story? Well, the wife bought it for her husband for Christmas, but then she found out he was having an affair, and so anyway.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I picked up Ida. Well, Terry was out and about, and I got little Ida dog home and set her right on the mantle of the fireplace. She came home and knocked it on. So that's how I got Ida girl, you know.
I had a Christmas puppy. Timing was right, and I got it into a gift wrap box behind the Christmas tree on Christmas morning somehow, and got my kids to open it up. That was a lot of fun.
You know, there was a puppy explosion during COVID. I mean, people working at home, you know, and I thought that would relax a little bit. You know, if you're breeding a dog and you got puppies coming, you don't know. I mean, you might think you got 8, you might have 10, but man, it isn't hard to sell them out. It's hard to get on the list to be considered. The old days, they had the puppies, you went and picked one, and now it's
And
easy.
Even if you go to a hunting line breeder, you still don't know.
You don't know.
You know, we have friends who have had dogs that didn't work out, and they went hundreds of miles to get them. Mm-hmm. You know, you just never know. I mean, it's...
You don't. I don't know. Talk myself out of it again.
I don't know. There's nothing like a dog, though. I mean...
Now you're talking me into it.
It's true. I mean, I wouldn't go hunting solo as often if I didn't have the dog, because I'm not going solo. It's me and him. It's me and another hunting buddy. Yeah. And, you know, he's looking at me like, are you going to shoot me something? I'm like, I'm going to try. Mm-hmm. And if not, he's like, well, thanks for trying. You know, it was good to hang out.
This excludes George, but you do find yourself hunting with people you really wouldn't hunt with, but they have a dog.
Yeah. It does make it easier. It certainly does.
Yeah. Or in Ronnie's case, I really don't care if you come, but can barely come.
All right, so let me know what you think I should get for my next dog. A lab or something else? Let me know in the comments.
Quack.